worst thing in the world to take care of. They're like a sack.
300 pound jello.
They're terrible. But they, you know, I've never tried it, to tell you the truth. It might work.
I think I try it.
Yeah.
Anything's better than
that coast area. Yeah, it can be brutal for darn sure. Terrible. Any other questions on anything? You're welcome to come up and try any of these calls. This one especially, I think you'd like. Take a look at the calls here. We're here. We don't do anything till like.
I got one more.
Yeah.
So I'm new to bear hunting,
Okay.
and I'm trying to figure it out.
Okay.
I get real nervous when I read in the synopsis that says you can't take a sow that's wet.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I'm out there. I got a bear that's working. I'm watching it. I don't see cubs. Take it.
You know, that's yeah. Depends how big she is. No.
Yeah.
No, right. A lot of times you're not going to see. You know, when you see a sow, you'll see the cubs with her.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, you know, we've been on sows a lot of times where they will have their cubs with them, you know, for 2 years or so. Right. The cubs that were born last year, she'll sleep with them again in the den this year, and they'll be with her again this spring. And a lot of that depends on bear densities. Where there's a lot of male bears, the cubs will stay with the females longer. Where I used to live in Alaska, and where I've hunted grizzlies up in Alaska, the cubs will stay with the moms up there up to 5 years, because the boars will kill the cubs, and so they stay with them for protection. So you know, you might see an older cubs with them. Those sows are legal once they're a year and a half old or whatever. But just watch them. If you're not sure, watch them for a while and see. The cubs aren't going to be far from them.
So there's no telltale, you know,
like the features
patch like on an animal.
Yeah, you know, no. There's not. What I look for, there are basically 5 things that I look for in a bear, and they're in this order. If I'm looking for a big bear, the first thing I look for is to see when they're walking, and to see if their bodies almost move like they're disjointed. Their front from their back end. Their hind end is big. I mean, it's like watching Shaq go down the court. You know, just this big old beehive following the front end. You know, if you see that waddle, you're looking at a big bear. The second thing I look for is the front leg, and I don't want to see any differentiation between the shoulder width, the elbow width, and the wrist width. If they're walking and they're flipping their wrist to the inside, it's a small bear. You know, which is fine. If it's a boar by itself, they're incredible eating. Bears, if you've never eaten them, are incredible eating animal. That big boar, his kid killed one. The bear had like no teeth. I don't know, 20-some years old. Just a raunchy thing, less hair than I have, and just ugly. Almost. Not much. But my wife was working on a cookbook at the time, and we ate that bear, and that was the best eating bear I've ever had. And it was an old spring bear, just a gnarly old.
I was so glad when he phoned and said, "Do you have any bear meat we could use?"
Yeah. The whole freezer full. So bear meat's really good eating. And usually the younger boars are better. So that's the next thing I look for. And as they walk, I'm just looking for that blocky, you know, kind of stiff-legged feature in that shoulder. Next thing I look for, if they're close, and especially if you're calling them in, is a crease in the forehead. The bigger an older bear gets, the more their cranial muscles develop. So they get big bulges of muscles on top of their head, and that creates a divot in their forehead. If I see that divot in their forehead, then I know that's going to be a shooter bear. Now you think about, you know, relatively speaking, you know, if I'm up on Prince of Wales and I see a 5.5 foot bear, or a bear that's 175 pounds, I'm not shooting. But if I see that on the coast, that's a pretty good bear, so I'm probably going to shoot it. At the same time, you might want to hold out and you kill a 400-pound bear on the coast. Bears are the toughest animal in North America to judge, except for maybe an antelope. They're the toughest trophy animal to judge. I took a guy from another call company. He came on, won't say his name to save his embarrassment. He's killed a ton of elk. He's never killed a bear. I told him, we went through all the little things to look at for a bear, and we were shooting a TV show and we couldn't use the footage because the bear that he pulled out of the back of his truck was like not as big as a black rat. Man, I swore that. Look at the footage. That looked like a 400-pound bear. No, it looked like a 70-pound bear. Sorry. But it fooled them, so they can be very difficult. So those are the 3 things. That's the 3rd thing. 4th thing I look for is the belly. If it's a big bear, usually they're going to have a big, thick torso, a big belly. But that's not always the case. We've killed big bears that have been skinny. So that's not a telltale thing. The last thing I look for, and a lot of people say it's the first thing I look for, but the last thing I look for are the ears. if the ears are set off to the side of their head, as they grow in their head, their skull widens a little bit and those muscles develop, the ears move from, you know, nice and tall here to the side, and they'll be real small. And that's the last thing I'll look for. So those are 5 things that I'll look for. And if you see a bear on grass, you know, just don't get in a hurry. Be patient. If they don't have better eyesight than what we give them credit for, but their eyesight's not real good. So if you find a bear, the best way to learn about it is to watch them. You know, if you're new to bear hunting like this, don't even take the gun out of the truck and just watch the bear. You're going to learn more about animals by watching them when you're not trying to kill them than when you're trying to kill them. And just watch them for a while. A lot of times the sows, if there's boars in the area, and Jody and I did this a couple times, where we watched a bear for a long time, thought it was a sow, or thought it was a boar, went to make a move on it. I mean, watched them for over an hour, and went to make a move on it, and later found out, you know, saw that it was a sow with a cub. And a lot of times, if there's boars, and if it's a high density bear area, there's a lot of boars. The later it gets, the closer it gets to their breeding season, you know, end of May, middle of May, end of May, the sows will be real protective of their cubs. So they might have them back in the brush. They won't be right out in the grass with them all the time. Sometimes the sows have a lighter muzzle than the boars, not all the time. Sometimes their muzzles are black.
I had an old hound hunter that had saw hundreds of bears, and I was asking him the same question because I was really struggling. I mean, I was sure it was a boar, and pretty soon the cubs would come to it. And I'm like, crap, and I was sure it was. I was struggling. He said, just think of a black lab dog. He said, look at a male black lab and look at a female black lab. You know, a little bit blocky, a little bit shorter nose, a little bit, and about that, it works pretty good.
Yeah.
So that's my scientific approach.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Except when I'm left with Jody, its tail's not as long as the lab.
Doesn't look very soft mouth.
Yeah.
Fetch it up!
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So you're welcome to, you know, take some time to look around here. We could look at this. Yes?
Oh, we just want to say that, as you and Jody mentioned, you know, different strikers for turkeys and stuff make different sounds. So Sport Hill and Jones Paul ordered a bunch of your favorite cherry strikers.
Yeah,
I just
boy.
wanted to let everybody know that they wanted to start their collection of 18 million strikers. So
Yeah.
that we have a free one back here for
No
anybody
way.
who wants to.
I don't even have one of those.
Yeah, you've got mine over there. Yeah.
I got Jody's. Well, that's nice. So you can pick up your free striker. It's not a for sure deal yet right now, but it looks like a couple individuals might acquire the Jones Calls company and might possibly change the name. But one thing Jody and I have worked with them a lot on is call development, developing calls for people out here in Western Oregon, what we use here out west. And again, it's what we both make our living at. So we depend on the quality to get these things, you know, to the point where we want them. This call company might, if it is acquired here in the next week or two, look for a new company that possibly might be called Point Blank. Is that correct? Game Call. You can learn more about that from these two gentlemen back there. They have quite a bit of knowledge. JP Bird, right here, he's the man with Sport Hill. I want to show you one thing. Grab that jacket off of there, JP. Now,
Another thing, why he's doing that, guys, Scott's got a new book out on blacktail.
Oh, yeah.
Really, really good book.
He
good
just said
read.
that because his picture's in there.
Has one good picture in it, but the rest of them.
Grab this sleeve. Yeah, I do have the blacktail book. It's not in any stores yet. But this stuff here, you can grab this material. And if you're a bow hunter or a hunter that's looking to hunt in clothes that are not binding, I mean, this is phenomenal. And of course, it springs right back. This is. I've used this all over the world. I hunted in 4 different countries last year. Went on 40-some big game hunts that we filmed, from mountain goats to moose to, I don't know, 3 or 4 elk hunts to deer, turkey, everything.
It truly is the most comfortable stuff you will ever wear.
It's really neat stuff. And there's a new rain gear they have back there. We're working on a lot of different patterns that Joe's looking at actually private labeling and carrying here. So.
They've been around for a long, long time, so it's not a new fabric, a new company.
Sport Hill are from Eugene, right here. Jim Hill went to the University of Oregon, was an Olympic class runner, world class runner for them. Didn't like the clothes that he was wearing when he was competing. Started coming out with clothes for athletes, basically. They've been around for over 25 years. And they thought, you know, with all this